Hey guys, this video here is not going to be like the traditional format of the videos that I've put out in the past. Um, it took several weeks to get this car diagnosed and repaired due to parts availability. And although I do have a little bit of Pico captures and I have a little bit of this ATS E-scan that I'm going to go over, but it's a 2012 Nissan Sentra. I get called to look at the car for a P0101 mass airflow and a P0171 lean issue. The car has had an enormous amount of parts put on it. Airflow meters, intake has been on and off of it a bunch. Air boots, the fuel system's been drained, replaced. Alternative fuel's been run through the engine. ECU's been reprogrammed. It's just had a bunch of stuff put on it, and my job was to be able to figure out why this thing trips 101 and or 1 P0171. So the morning I go to get this car, I got my scan tool. I go out. I got the key. I'm expecting this thing to start. There was nothing told to me about it not starting. Well, the car doesn't start. It crank, no start. So I was like, well, what the hell? I mean, the remote worked. It has an iKey, intelligent key deal. The remote worked. There's no iKey indicator, on the dash, telling me maybe the key is wrong or not programmed. There were no DTCs with any sort of the immobilizer system at all. It had some history codes of the P01 and 171, but this thing will not start. It will crank the battery dead and not start. So it's about 40 degrees outside. I'm working on it on the back end of the parking lot. So I go in and I says, hey, you guys ever had a problem with this car not starting? I know I'm looking at it for these trouble codes, but the sumbitch won't start. Oh yeah, every now and then it won't start, or I got to put it in clear flood, and maybe it will start, maybe it won't start. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I went in the shop for a little bit. I got a wiring diagram. I grabbed my Picoscope, which I'm going to show you a capture, and I go back out and I did a little back probing at the computer, and basically this thing has no injection pulse, no ignition pulse, and the cam and crank signals are perfect in time with each other at the ECU. So I'm like, well, how am I supposed to diagnose the problem with the lean when I can't even get the damn thing to start? So I decided just to kind of let that car sit. Like I said, it was 40 some degrees outside. It wasn't the greatest time to be out in a parking lot. It was supposed to warm up later that day. I left the hood up. I went in the shop. I had lots of other stuff to do. I said, well, I'll just come back out there later with a wiring diagram, maybe check powers, grounds, and in worst case, we'll just have to push it in the shop. So later that day, I went back out. I got the scope hooked up. The car starts. And I'm like, well, daggone. Now I'm going to start. Now I said, well, while it's running, let me just go ahead and, try to figure out this lean situation, why I'm here to actually fix the car or to look at the real problem. As this video progresses, you're going to see a lot of little clips. This was a 2-week deal. I did little videos of it not starting and various things along the way that I want to bring you guys along on. Like I said, a little bit different video style than what I'm used to doing. But the diagnosis for this car is one of those deals that I know for me personally, but I think that all technicians go through. It's when you get ready to make a call on a very expensive part, which you'll know what the part is as the video goes on. You double check, triple check, you question yourself, you doubt your testing, you recheck everything, you doubt it some more. You know, you guys go through that. I know I do. But we made the right call. We got the car fixed. It was a double-sided problem. It was two problems with one fix, which was actually good because, as you'll see, I was at literally my wit's end. I ran out of ideas of things to test on this car. I fixed what I knew was bad, what beyond the shadow of a doubt, the part that I knew was bad, and then I crossed my fingers that it was going to fix the other problem. And you guys will see that as we go along. So it's. I was even on the fence about even posting this, but I'm like, you know what? I videoed this thing through the whole process. I have a lot more gray hair now because of this car, but it's worth posting. I hope you guys enjoy it and comment. And I want to give a shout out to all my subscribers. You guys are wonderful. I mean, the comment section on my channel is freaking awesome. There's no negativity. I don't go through and delete bad comments because there are no bad comments. So I want to thank all you guys for that. There's constructive comments. There's questions. There's, hey, about this, hey, about that. All great stuff. So thank you guys. The integrity level on the people who comment is extremely high, and I appreciate that. Thanks again also for using the Auto Nerds link. It is such a tremendous benefit if you guys check them out and if you buy from those guys. The stuff that they offer after you buy a scope is good. It is wonderful, and it costs no extra money. So enjoy the video. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. This is probably going to come out a couple of days after Thanksgiving, just whenever I can get the whole thing edited together. And hope you guys enjoy this video, and thanks a lot. Cold crank, no start. Let's see what happens. Cam and crank. I'm going to save this file. Look, one injector pulse. I'm going to save this file. Hold on a minute. So here's a capture real quick of what you saw in the video. It's nothing spectacular. It's the cam sensor signal and the crank sensor signal. This is all back probed at the ECU. The green trace here obviously is a bunch of noise because I'm cranking it, but this would have been my ignition command. I was back probed at like number 4 coil. And if it were trying to fire, you would see like a little, 4-volt square wave in here, which you see nothing. And then right at the very end, for some reason, I got one injection pulse. Still not understanding that. But this is my cam and crank. Like I said, this car would not start, and this really wasn't why I was there to look at it, but it wouldn't start. I always look at the falling edge, and it's falling a little bit before this tooth. I compared it to some known goods that I have, and the correlation's fine. The cam and crank signal are at the computer. Pin fit was good, and the correlation is fine. I didn't see a problem as to why this engine shouldn't be trying to fire the plugs or the ignition coils or the injectors. But right at the very end, it did spit out one pulse, which I thought was kind of odd. I don't know why it did that. So it was like 40 degrees outside, so I decided to just kind of let this thing sit. I left the hood up. I went back in the shop. I had some other cars to look at, and I was going to come back out later and then start kind of diving into why this thing is not pulsing the injectors or the coil or the coils in the face of known good cam and crank signals. So that was my plan of attack. And like I said, I was there actually to look at this car for lean codes, not a no start. So later that day, I went back out And I was like, well, if it doesn't start, I'm going to push it in, and I'm going to show you another small video of it actually starting. And I've got cam and crank and all this injector pulse and everything comes back to life. And now all of a sudden the car wants to start and run. And I'm like, well, damn, I don't understand why it didn't start. But now it is started and running, and now the car's in the shop. And now I'm going to start kind of attacking the issue that I'm there to actually attack, the lean stuff. So I'm going to go over some scan data and things like that on the eScan that I found was pretty interesting. And then we'll just kind of keep moving forward with little bitty cuts here and there as I videoed each little step I did and try to make sense of this whole thing. But as of right now, this car don't start cold, but as the day warmed up, it did start, and I finally got in the shop, and we're going to attack some of the lean problems that this thing allegedly has. 2012 Nissan Sentra has a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine in it. I'm here to look at a very lean running vehicle. And let's see, we go to DTCs, we have a 171 pending, and it will set a P0101 mass airflow. And we're just sitting here in the bay idling, and a quick look at scan data. We are adding fuel in the short trim, we are adding on the long. Our total is 28. 700. Math looks decent. It is keeping a fairly good lambda. It has to add a lot of fuel to get it. So we're going to take this dude out for a ride and see what it does off idle through the whole gear range. This could be a pretty serious vacuum leak. I have gave it a little bit of a look over. I don't see anything major. So we're going to drive it and I'll bring you back. Hold on. So I've kind of back-burnered or back-shelved the cold start issue because now the car's running. So I decided to go ahead and start attacking the lean. You saw in the video that was idling in the shop how lean the car was at idle. Like I said in the opening, there's been a lot of parts put on this thing. I triple checked everything for vacuum leaks, things like that. Fuel pressure was good. The fuel had been changed. A lot of things had went on to try to fix this car. I drove it. I used the sharpshooter tab in the ATSE scan, and you can see that this thing is lean from idle up through mid RPMs, and it gets better at the end. We're talking almost wide open throttle. Between 4,200 and 4,800 RPMs, it finally decides to run okay. I probably had my foot to the floor, so I'm not really thinking those are good numbers. My problem is in here. So I'm like, okay, now I'm thinking, do I have a fuel delivery issue or do I have an airflow issue? So we're going to move to the next test, volumetric efficiency test. And this is it. The engine's scaled. The eScan does a really good job of having a scaled engine. And you can see that the red here is where the VE should be. And my car is right in here. I'm way under what it should be. Now, you guys obviously can't be with me when I drive these cars. I can tell you this car ran great. It really got down the road. I mean, it's a Sentra, but still. I've drove 100,000 cars that had clogged converters and things that this indicates, and they usually get worse, and they ping and they backfire and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. This car gave me zero inclination of any clogged exhaust. Obviously, I looked at the exhaust system because this kind of is a good indicator of a breathing problem. I did pull the front oxygen sensor out. It's really easy to get to. I stuck a borescope down in the hole, and the converter's not clogged. This kind of indicates this car has a big time breathing problem, and I'm trying to decide, do I have a fuel issue or an airflow issue? This is telling me I have an airflow issue. I have a breathing issue. So I do this last test here, and it's not in the sharpshooter, it's just using scan data. So right across the top is my throttle position. It's basically my right foot. And where you see this blue line, if you can just imagine this coming straight down, is what I'm reading. So at 90.98, basically I had my foot to the floor. And when you do that, your front oxygen and your rear oxygen ought to go full rich if your fuel system is in good shape. If you have good fuel, your pump's good, if your injectors can flow, and everything in your fuel system is working correctly, then you should go full rich on your rear oxygen, which is the green. You can see it went up to 0.89, which would be somewhere right in there. And then my front air-fuel ratio sensor was down to 0.6. So this little test kind of tells me that I have no problems with my fuel. My issue with this car is air. Now, do I have an under-reporting mass airflow? This car has had at least 2 factory OE mass airflow sensors put on it. The air boot has been replaced. There are no leaks. I literally tested and retested every circuit from the mass airflow sensor to the computer for any voltage drops, any shorts to ground, any discrepancies in that wiring harness. I checked and double checked. I'd also have checked powers and grounds extensively at the computer, because remember, this car has a cold start problem and it has this mysterious lean issue, and I literally have pulled my hair out and cannot find out for the life of me why this car is running lean, or why the data is showing me it's running lean. And just bear in mind, this is all processed data. I just said, you know what? Let me back up and punt. I'm going to show you another video. I decided to kind of back up and start attacking the cold issue. Why does this car have a problem cold? So I kind of went old school. I pulled the ECU out of the car and I stuck it in the freezer. And watch these next couple of videos and you'll see the results from that. No start with a cold computer. Alright, she's then warmed up a little bit. That's about the temperature of the shop. And alright, I think we're going to call that a fix. We do have one on order. I have no idea when I'm going to get it. Big story behind this one though, so stay tuned. Yeah, got the new computer in. Of course, it's 58 degrees. It won't start this morning. So there's the new one. I'm gonna get in here and program it, and we're gonna see if we can at least get the no start cold situation figured out, and then work on the lean. I'm kind of hoping and thinking that this new computer is gonna fix both problems, but we'll see. Hang on. Right, so we got the new computer in, got the key programmed, so far so good. The old computer would not start it this afternoon. I can't remember, it was 50 some degrees, but we got the new computer in. We are running, so I think half of my problem's fixed, and now I'm going to get the e-scan out and we're going to see if we've basically fixed our lean problem too. So I'll get back on that. All right, so I got the computer put in this thing. Definitely fixed my cold start issue. So I was hoping that it would fix the fuel trim issue also, the lean and things like that, because I was literally at wit's end on checking everything involving the airflow on this motor. So what I've done is I've been out driving it. I haven't been driving it long. I still have 3 monitors complete, 2 complete. We haven't set any permanents. We haven't set any regular DTCs. And of course I ran the sharpshooter, And there's what we've got. Everything looks nice and green. It's not overly adding fuel like you saw on the slideshow I did. The VE looks a whole lot better. It jags up here at the top. I think it's because it's a CVT. It really winds these little motors up. But that looks pretty good. And then, of course, to compare, I mean, we're only added like 5% of fuel. And then the blue line, of course, is where it's getting off of the scaled versus actual. And I think that's just a byproduct of the, just having a CVT. It won't let the motor wind up but so far. And then a quick look at the data. Short term still a little high. Long term really hasn't started yet. But all in all, I mean, it is miles better. So I don't know what was wrong with this computer on the inside. I don't know why it was misinterpreting the data. I really don't understand much farther than the connectors. Once it gets into the box and the logic and the boards and all that stuff, it's kind of above my pay grade. But I am glad that the computer fixed both problems. I had full evidence that the computer was going to fix the cold start. I guess it's just better to be lucky than good sometimes, and we got both problems fixed with one part. So good for me. Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out, dealing with this long case study. It's been a long time since I started this car and finally getting parts to fix it. So, all right, on to the next one. Thanks again. So at the end of the day, we got the car fixed. It turned out that the cold start problem is kind of what led me to fixing the car. Anytime I have to put a control unit in a car, for some reason, I doubt myself. I don't know how you guys deal with it or go through the processes, but I convince myself powers, grounds, canned communication, all the things that a control unit needs to live, and if it's still making bad decisions, I replace it. That strategy has worked for me for a long time, but no matter how old I get and how many computers I've replaced, I still have a percentage of doubt. I don't know why. I don't think it'll ever go away because I've been doing this for a long time and I still have that same cringy butterfly feeling. And you're talking a part that's hard to get, it's expensive, and it's out of the customer's pocket. I'm a customer in every other facet of my life to every business, and I appreciate it when businesses steer me down the right road, and I try to relay that when I diagnose a car for my customers. Money's hard to come by these days, and they're paying me and the dealer I work for pretty top dollar for quality information. So it's a little bit of pressure. I probably put more pressure on myself than I should, but I do. This was a weird one, guys. I've never had a control unit fail and give lean issues. I don't understand what's in the box. I think I said that in one of the little video clips. I can test everything outside of the box, but once it gets into the box and the logic and the decision-making parts of the computer, it's just something that I don't know a lot about. I just know, I feel like I have very solid skills as far as testing, looking for each and every problem that computer needs to succeed. And if it doesn't, then I have to call a bad computer. I don't know how many times I've done it, but I always feel like queasy. It's a weird thing. So I don't think I'll ever grow out of it. Maybe you guys can relate. Some people can just shotgun parts on cars every day and not lose a moment's sleep over it. I'm just not one of those people. I need to make sure the diagnoses are correct because, everybody's money is, it's their money. And we're coming into the holiday season. Not that makes any difference. I diagnose every car the same way, or try to, but it just makes it even a little more difficult, we'll say, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, because you never know. These people may have 2 kids, and that $1,000 control unit, maybe they're putting that above Christmas presents. So the last thing I need to do is hang that part on that car and not fix it. So appreciate you guys listening to my rambling, and thanks for subscribing. Like I said before, the comment section is awesome. If anybody wants to comment about the logic and things like that in the computers and want to start a conversation on the channel, that would be wonderful. I'm always here to listen and learn. Just keep it clean. Criticism is always welcome. Trolling is really not. So you guys have a great holidays. Hopefully I can get one more video out before Christmas. And you guys have a good one.